The heart surgery had gone well, but recovery was slow. I'd been in the hospital for 6 days when the text message arrived that changed everything. Hi Mom. Had to sell your wedding ring, needed money for groceries and bills. Got $8,000 for it. You understand, right? Love you. Stephanie. I stared at my phone screen, reading the message 3 times. My daughter-in-law had just casually informed me she'd stolen and sold my most precious possession while I was recovering from major surgery. The ring had been on my nightstand when the ambulance came. I'd been too weak to put it on, too focused on breathing to worry about jewelry. I trusted my family to watch over my things. I typed back, "Of course, dear. Family comes first." Then I called my lawyer. "Dorothy." Martin's voice was concerned. "How are you feeling?" "I'm feeling like I need to make some changes to my will, Martin. Can you come by the hospital this afternoon?" "Of course. What's happened?" "I'll explain when you get here." "Martin, bring the documentation for the Geneva account." After hanging up, I scrolled through my contacts and made another call. "Goldstein Jewelry, this is Rebecca." "Rebecca, it's Dorothy Chen. I need you to check something for me." "Mrs. Chen, how are you recovering?" "I'm fine, dear. I need to know if someone tried to sell you a diamond wedding ring in the past few days. About 2 carats, platinum setting, claimed to be worth 8,000. Pause. Actually, yes. A young woman came in yesterday. Very eager to sell. The ring was beautiful, but what? Mrs. Chen, it was cubic zirconia. High-quality costume jewelry, but not real diamonds. We offered her $50, but she insisted it was worth thousands. She got quite upset and left." "Did she mention where she was going?" "She said something about trying the pawn shops downtown. Those places don't always test thoroughly." I smiled for the first time in days. "Thank you, Rebecca. You've been very helpful." My son James arrived an hour later, looking guilty and uncomfortable. "Mom, about the ring." "Sit down, sweetheart. Stephanie feels terrible. She was just desperate and she thought since you weren't wearing it anyway." "How long have you two been struggling financially?" James shifted in his chair. "A few months. Since I lost the Henderson account, things have been tight." "And you didn't think to ask me for help?" "Stephanie said we needed to handle our own problems. That asking you for money would be embarrassing." I nodded slowly. "And what did she plan to tell me about the ring?" She thought maybe you wouldn't notice for a while. With the surgery and everything. She thought I wouldn't notice that my wedding ring was missing." James winced. "When you put it like that, it sounds horrible." "It is horrible, James. But not for the reasons you think." Martin arrived with his briefcase, nodding politely to James before setting up his laptop on my bedside table. "James," I said, "I need you to understand something. That ring your wife sold wasn't my real wedding ring." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've worn a replica for the past 10 years. The real ring, the one your father gave me 47 years ago, is in a safety deposit box downtown." James looked confused. "Why would you wear a fake ring?" "Because I learned that when you have valuable things, people notice. They start calculating worth, making plans, developing ideas about what they're entitled to when you're gone." Martin pulled out a folder. "James, your mother asked me to explain some things to you. The ring Stephanie sold was worth about $30, I continued. But she convinced some pawn shop owner it was worth 8,000. That's fraud. Mom, she didn't know. She didn't know it was fake, but she knew it wasn't hers to sell. She stole from me while I was lying in a hospital bed, possibly dying, and then had the audacity to text me about it like she was doing me a favor." Martin opened his laptop. "James, your mother has been financially supporting your family for the past 2 years without your knowledge." "What? The mortgage payments that Stephanie thinks come from your salary? They've been coming from your mother's account. The car payments, the credit card bills you thought you'd caught up on, even Stephanie's shopping budget, all funded by your mother through a series of anonymous transfers." I watched my son's face process this information. "That's impossible. Your mother owns the digital marketing company that hired you as a consultant last year," Martin continued. "The $5,000 a month you think you're earning? That's your mother's money. Mom, I watched your marriage struggling under financial pressure. I watched Stephanie becoming bitter and resentful. I thought if I could ease the money problems without damaging your pride, maybe you two could work things out. But Stephanie doesn't know?" Stephanie thinks you're a successful consultant who suddenly got very good at managing money. She's been bragging to her friends about how well you provide for the family. James was quiet for a long time. And now she's stolen from you. Now she's committed fraud while stealing from the person who's been secretly saving her marriage. My phone buzzed. Another text from Stephanie. The pawn shop gave me the full $8,000. Paying off the credit cards today. You're the best mother-in-law ever. I showed the message to James and Martin. She actually got $8,000 for a $30 ring? Martin asked. Apparently she's very convincing, I said. Unfortunately for her, she just texted a confession to fraud. What happens now? James asked. Now you decide what kind of man you want to be married to. Someone who steals from sick relatives, or someone who asks for help when they need it. Detective Williams arrived the next morning with the warrant. I'd been moved to a private room, and the three of us sat around my bed like we were planning a business meeting. Mrs. Chin, we visited the pawn shop. The owner admitted he suspected the ring wasn't worth what she claimed, but she was very persuasive. He's willing to cooperate. And Stephanie? She spent the money immediately. Credit cards, shopping, even bought herself a spa day to celebrate solving their financial problems. The bank records show she spent all $8,000 in less than 24 hours. James had been quiet since learning the truth. Detective, what are the charges? Theft, fraud, exploitation of a vulnerable adult. With the value she claimed and the victim's age and medical condition, we're looking at felony charges. She didn't know Mom was supporting us, James said quietly. But she knew the ring wasn't hers, Detective Williams replied. And she knew your mother was in the hospital when she took it. My phone rang. Stephanie's ringtone. Should I answer it? I asked. Detective Williams nodded. Put it on speaker. Hi Mom. How are you feeling? Much better, dear. Thank you for asking. I wanted to talk to you about the ring money. I know $8,000 seems like a lot, but I promise it all went to important things. Bills, groceries, necessities. Of course, Stephanie. I mean, you weren't wearing it anyway, and it's not like you need expensive jewelry in the hospital, right? I looked at Detective Williams, who was taking notes. Stephanie, can you tell me exactly how much the pawn shop gave you? $8,000, just like I said. Why? And you told them the ring was worth that much? Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I man, it was your wedding ring, so I figured it had to be valuable. I may have exaggerated a little about the diamond size, but that's just good negotiating, right? Detective Williams smiled and wrote something down. Stephanie, there is something I need to tell you. What's that? The police are here. You're under arrest for fraud and theft. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, what? Mom, this isn't funny. It's not meant to be funny. Detective Williams would like to speak with you. The detective took the phone. Ms. Davis, this is Detective Williams with the fraud unit. We need you to come to the station for questioning regarding the sale of stolen jewelry. Stolen? It wasn't stolen, says my mother-in-law. Mom, being relative to someone don't give you the right to take their property without permission. But it was just sitting there. And we needed the money. We discussed this at the station. Can you come in voluntarily, or do we need to send a car? After Stephanie hung up, promising to come to the station with a lawyer, we sat in silence. James, he said finally, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Okay. If you had known I was supporting your family financially, would you have allowed Stephanie to take my ring? No. Absolutely not. And if you had known we weren't really struggling because I was covering your expenses, would you have married someone who steals from sick relatives? James took a long time to answer. I don't think he ever really knew who Stephanie was. I think he married who he wanted her to be. And now? Now I know who she really is. 2 days later, I was released from the hospital. James picked me up, and we drove past the pawn shop where a closed for investigation sign in the window. The owner's been arrested too, James said. Apparently, this wasn't the first time I'd knowingly bought stolen goods. And Stephanie? Lawyer says she probably get probation if she pays restitution. But the restitution is $8,000 chi no longeras. What about your marriage? I filed for separation yesterday. I can't be married to someone who would steal from my mother while she's in the hospital. Withdraw in comfortable silence until I said, James, about the financial support. I want to pay you back. Every penny. I don't want you to pay me back. I want you to learn to budget, to save, to live within your means. I want you to ask for help when you need it instead of pretending you don't. And if you do that, then maybe we can talk about a real job at my company. Not a fake consulting position, but actual work with actual responsibility. You the trust me with that? James, you're not the one who betrayed my trust. You're the one was learning from someone else's mistakes. 3 months later, Stephanie pled guilty to fraud charges. She received 2 years, probation and a restitution order for $8,000. Since she spent the money and had no assets, she'd be making minimum payments for the next decade. James moved into his own apartment and started working as my company's operations manager. I learned to cook, to budget, and to recognize red flags in relationships. I had my real wedding ring resized and started wearing it again. After 47 years, it still caught the light beautifully. The fake ring was returned as evidence and eventually given back to me. I keep it in my jewelry box now, a reminder that sometimes the most valuable things aren't what they appear to be. And sometimes the least valuable people are exactly what they appear to be.